2 as we welcome you here to Sixers Post-Game Live, brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Amy Fiddle, Jim Lina, Mark Jackson. And finally, in this Heat series, we get to talk about a win. We know that he would be playing obviously hurt. This clearly, Mark, we saw him with the mask. His thumb is still injured. He's coming off a concussion. What did you make of the heroic type of performance that you saw from Joel Embiid tonight?
I expect nothing less, Amy. I expect a soldier out there, a warrior on this court, to go out there and give it his all for this team. Playing through a thumb injury, playing with a busted face, and says, you know what, I got my legs so I still can play. And fighting and battling, competing for 48 minutes. Took a fight, a blow to the face, but still able to maintain his composure and still compete. Compete as best as he can. 8 days off, I believe. That's remarkable. You know,
we talked pregame, like, listen, let's not expect Embiid to kind of be the superhero to swoop in and save the day. But, Jimmy, he kind of turned into the superhero to save the day. His presence out there made this entire starting lineup, really the team top to bottom, so much different on the offensive and defensive end. Where do you think he was most effective out there?
No question. He was a superhero at the defensive end of the floor. I mean, what, 79 points this team averaged, where they were well over the hundreds, 116 in one of those 2 games down in Miami. And all you have to do is look at the head-to-head matchup. Bam Adebayo, who had his way with Sixer big men in those first 2 games. And guess what? As Mark said, here comes a real bad big man. Joel Embiid. Defense was sensational.
Yeah, 9 points from Bam Adebayo, who had been scoring in the 20s the previous games. But you look at the offense up and down. I mean, Tobias Harris, an off night for him, which has been surprising in this postseason, but every other starter in double figures. That is a big difference. When you have him out there, he helps space everything. He gets the energy flowing, obviously, in the right way, but he gets the offense flowing in the right way, Mark Jackson. He draws that defense in, and therefore people have better looks. It's as simple as that sometimes.
Listen, and we look at these stats here. This 76 team shot 48% from 3. 48%, 16 threes. How many we had in the first 2 combined?
14.
14, ladies and gentlemen. You think that's coincidence? No, Joel Embiid commands so much attention. You got to look at him, and leaves everything open for the other players. This team benefits. This team's great. This team goes so much to another level when Hans is in the game.
We were talking upstairs when we were watching the game how this kind of resembled like a 1994 Eastern Conference semifinals matchup. You know, we got to look for Anthony Mason out there or something like that, because 99-79 is not a score you usually see in a 2022 playoff, but that's what we saw tonight. Thanks, as Jimmy pointed out, to Joel Embiid's defense. That is our Colonial Nissan game changer. Embiid was everywhere. Talk about limiting Bam Adebayo. Just him alone.
Well, and it's about timing, instincts. Defense is a lot about instinct. And Joel Embiid being 7 foot whatever, he has the instinct of a smaller, quicker guy, cat-like movement, and he covers so much ground.
He sure did. We got to talk about Tyrese Maxey.
Absolutely.
There was a time up there during this game we weren't sure we were going to talk about Tyrese Maxey in a positive way, which would be rare, but wow, he really brought this team home. He himself went on his own mini run when the Heat went on a run to get them right back in it. What did you see from Tyrese? He really flipped that switch, Jim, in the second half.
Yeah, he did. If I'm not mistaken, somebody texted me and said he tied the game with the run that you're referring to, Aim. Maxey went on a mini run of his own, 5 straight points, and that really was the catalyst that set the Sixers on their way.
Let's take a look at all 21 of his points, all coming in the second half. It is the subject of our Yingling Presents Lager Up.
As you said, he had 3 shots, no field goals at the half, and he ends up with 21 points in the second half. I mean, if that's not explosive, please.
It's been fun to watch. This one was a fun one. That's what happens when you win by 20 points. Joel Embiid obviously making a difference. The home crowd making a difference, I think, overall. Is this a game where you thought, like, wow, this is who we were going to see if Embiid played, Mark? This is the real Sixers in the postseason?
It is, Amy. You know, Joel Embiid finishing with 18 points and 11 rebounds and hasn't played in a week. You know, and he only gets better with the rhythm of the game. So you see this, you see the presence he had, this Miami Heat team, like, man, we didn't play 2 games because them 2 games count for 4. Unfortunately, they can't in the NBA, ladies and gentlemen. So with that being said, Joel Embiid is going to ramp up. He's going to get hype. He's going to play better with every single game in the past. 18-11, 6 with the win. The most important stat is the W. Look forward to Game 4, Joel, be even better.
Well, we talked about the turnaround that Tyrese Maxey had in game from first half to second half. I would be remiss if I did not talk about the remarkable turnaround of one Danny Green, an abysmal 1 for 10 in Game 2. He was on fire. He was 1 off the Sixers' 3-point record in the postseason. 7 for 9 for 21 points. at some points he was kind of keeping the game for the Sixers like within reach at times, Jim.
Oh no, well, and we said the Sixers really, to be close to their best, they're dependent on good perimeter shooting. And Danny Green, I mean, it's not fair, I guess, to expect 7 for 9 perimeter shooting, but by the same token, we know he's way, way better than what he showed down in those first 2 games down in Miami.
That was a revelation because, you know, Danny Green is a good three-point shooter. We know that. He's a good spot-up guy, and they found him, and they could tell when he was ready calling for the ball. They fed him, Mark. But, I mean, after a 1 for 10, was there any I mean, I have to say I was a little bit like, oh, no, don't. Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, sometimes, unfortunately, you know, when the shooter's main job is just shoot the ball, he doesn't contribute much in other things on the offensive end. So when his shot's not falling, it kind of makes him look a lot worse than what it really is. He's that kind of player, and unfortunately now that's his days. He gets hot, he's good. If he's not, we can expect a little bit less of him. But one thing we can't say is is he going to stop shooting? No, shooters shoot, and Danny's a shooter. So when he's off, he's going to be off, but he's going to keep shooting until he get back on. And as you see, when he gets back on, things like this happen.
Was Danny Green out of cold storage right there. I was here for it, and so was everybody else in the building, and I'm sure Doc Rivers was as well. Let's check in with Doc Rivers after his team's Game 3 win.
Doc, just to have Joel back in any capacity, and obviously this question, let's have him back tonight. How much did it change things for you?
Well, a lot. I mean, just his presence, obviously, to start the game, his energy, his rebounding, his ability at the basket. I've said it all year. You know, you could see his timing was off a little bit, but his presence defensively, like I really, you know, I don't think he gets enough credit how good of a defensive player he is and how much he helps us. And I thought tonight it was a lot of that.
The Joel's presence tonight enabled you to hit the shots that you weren't hitting in Miami.
Well, not in the first half. You know, no one can make a shot. So, really, I mean, and I thought both teams, you know, there were open shots, but I thought this was the best defensive game in the first half by both teams. I didn't think there was a lot of open shots. And then we got it going finally, you know, 27 and 31 in the second half. That was good. Fell on a couple of things that we liked in the second half. And we got the spacing that we wanted.
We ran speaking of things you liked in the second half, you ran that double drag a lot with Joel, Matisse, and James.
Yeah.
What were you seeing there?
Well, number one, it was the easiest way to get the ball to Joel, and also it allowed us to go downhill. I liked it with Tyrese as well. I thought both of those were great. That was something we saw. I think we ran it once in the second quarter, and we saw what we could get out of it, and we talked about it at halftime.
Coach, just speaking of Tyrese, you get downhill a little bit. Again, the first half, I think we took 3 shots, he didn't score, and obviously he erupts in the second half. Was there something you told him?
Yeah, well, to go get the ball. And we got him the ball more. Like, you know, it's just tough, and I keep saying that. You know, we have James, who's a great ball handler, and Tyrese a lot of times just kind of goes away. And so, you know, and I told them all, we got to make a conscious effort. That can't happen. We can't let him go away. It's too important to our team.
At the same time, how it seemed like any time James was not on the court, you guys didn't really have much success getting into anything. How important was it for him to be able to get you guys?
That's the point I've been making with him. Like, you know, it's funny. We obviously love his points, but what James does for us more than everything, he organizes us. He gets us to the right spots. He gets the ball to the right guys. You know, that's so valuable, especially in the playoffs.
Coach, also looked like Matisse actually finally kind of began looking like himself.
Yeah, it was good. It was that was the Matisse we need tonight. You know, the first stint you could see, the second stint in that second quarter, I thought he found his legs. Really important for us.
It looked like there were times when it were.
So he's talking about Embiid there. Obviously, they were monitoring him. He did obviously play, 37 minutes. It's something to watch. Now it's all about how he bounces back. Mark, you've been in this situation as far as having to come back after an injury, wearing the mask, having some days off. How quickly can he bounce back? Or is it a case of he played in this game, now everything's kind of back on track and he can keep rolling?
He has rhythm now. He was off him on days, play a game a day, play 30-some-odd minutes, 18-11. But now, tomorrow, get some shots up, get ready for the next game. Now he's building a rhythm. He's getting a conditioning during the game. This is what you need. This is what he needs to get his game back and get it back sooner than later. And game 3's in the book. Remember, it's not about how many games you can win, 3, 4. It's about this, the first game. And this is game 1, and now we got another game. So forget the first 3. That's game 1 now. Sixers looking to gain momentum with the rhythm of Joel Embiid back in that lineup. This is what Joel Embiid. What? I don't need to be sitting out. I need to be playing. I need to be dominating. Oh, by the way, give me my MVP trophy, too.
We'll have to see on that front. But, you know, Jimmy, this was a game they had to have. We all know no one's ever come back from 0-3. How they won this game, especially the way they took over in the second half, does that make it just a little bit like, okay, we're back in this thing? It's not just 2-1. It feels a little bit more like it's an even series.
Yeah, that's a good point, I think, because they really did dominate the second half, Aim. And I think one of the things that's worthy of note, I think the fast break points here were really strongly in the Sixers' favor. And when you're playing a game with you heard Doc Rivers say he thought both teams in the first half really played outstanding defense, as evidenced by the score, no question. And I think when you're able to generate points off the break, because you're desperate to get easy baskets, the easiest way to get baskets before the defense gets set up or get a lot of second shots. So the Sixers did a real good job in terms of pace of the game.
Yes, they did. And their defense, wow, really shutting the Miami Heat down, who are an abysmal 7 for 30 from 3. All right, we're going to take our first time out. And for the first time in the Heat series, we get to play the song. So clap your hands, everybody. We're coming right back here on Sixers Postgame Live, brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. We'll talk more about Joel Embiid, as well as hear from more players as they step to the podium.